We're going to turn this around now. Because I did a little, once it hit me, I did a little study in Morals and Dogma, Manly Hall's The Secret Teachings of All Ages, and practically all of the mystery religions, they all get together. I've told you this image of these Druids at Stonehenge, which was designed in particular to mark the location of the sun at the equinoxes and at the solstices. And these Druids, every June 21st, they always get together in this spot and they worship the sun god, who is an image of the Antichrist. And remember when we talked here a few weeks ago about the miners in Chile, and how the occult imagery of the 33 rising up out of the pit and being brought from darkness to light, and how the number 23 was present in certain of the dates and certain things that were going on there. Folks, the imagery is all here. Why do they meet then at the summer and winter solstice and in the equinoxes? Because it marks the idea that the God that they worship makes a 46-degree ascension, and I'm going to show you this in other places. Notice that in our chromosomes, which we have 46 of those, our DNA is serpent-like in these chromosomes. And Jesus said, as Moses lifted up the serpent in the wilderness, even so must the Son of Man be lifted up. And what Christ was referring to was our flesh, which is corrupt. The serpent spoke 46 words to Eve in the Garden of Eden. We are corrupt in our flesh. It needs to be crucified so a new body can be given to us, a new body that will live forever. The exact phrase in your King James Bible, the devil, is mentioned exactly 46 times. And remember the idea of Kundalini. Kundalini says the devil, the serpent, is at the base of your spine. And he's going to writhe around like DNA, 46 chromosomes, up the 33 bones of your spinal column. He's going to go from his place, his low place, to his high place. The imagery of that is the sun going from the tropic down south to the tropic up north, in a 46-degree ascension. It's all there, folks. The imagery of the two Johns in Freemasonry. You have John the Baptist and John the Divine, they call him. And I want you to notice that in Masonic imagery, they picture one as masculine and one as feminine. Is denoted by two parallel lines with a circle with a dot in the end of it. Now, the circle and the point within the circle, the circumpunct, Dan Brown used that imagery heavily in the lost symbol. It refers to Horus, which is the product of the male and the female coming together to produce the Antichrist. Horus is the Antichrist. So here we have the images of these two parallel lines and the two Johns. And Albert Pike says that these represent, and Manly Hall says this, that these represent the tropics and the ascension from south to north of the sun god, or the beast, or the lost word, rising from a place of a low position to a high position of exactly 46 degrees. In McAlester, Oklahoma, a pastor was showing me this. He said, Pastor Mike, you got to see the images outside this Masonic temple in McAlester, Oklahoma. The two parallel lines by the circle are serpents. The devil, 46 times in the King James Bible, the serpent rising up, the solstices, a rise and ascension of 46 degrees. Take a look at this image here. This is from a Masonic website. This was done in 1484 by Botticelli. An image of the Virgin and Child enthroned between St. John the Baptist and St. John the Evangelist. You get that. Remember, the point within the circle represented the woman giving birth to the Antichrist. The two Johns represented the tropics, and now we know the separation of 46 degrees, 46 chromosomes, and there encoded right in front of your very eyes is the secret. The idea that the beast is going to rise up. Man's DNA It's all there. The idea of Jacob and Boaz represent the two solstices separated by 46 degrees. Remember, Jacob and Boaz were both 23 cubits tall or 46 cubits total. The tree of life in the Kabbalah, the Sephiroth, the two outer lines represent the two pillars, Jacob and Boaz, and they represent the summer and the winter solstice combined together to form the new man. In the Masonic House of the Lodge Temple in Washington, D.C. I keep talking about this, but it just all clicks. The outside structure of the building is 33 pillars and 13 steps. That's 46. And they describe this building as a temple. And then when you go inside, you have two winding staircases that look like DNA. When you ascend up those staircases, you're making a 23 degree, or combined together, a 46 degree ascension from a low place to a high place. Just like the solstices. So get this. So when they gather together at the winter solstice, they're lamenting, they're weeping. They're lamenting the death of the Antichrist, or the god that died, or Adonis, or Apollo, or any of these other false gods. Tammuz, hold on to that. They're weeping over his death, and they're hoping that he will rise again. And so from the winter solstice to the summer solstice, a rise of 46 degrees takes place, and now they're celebrating at the summer solstice because now we're bathed in light during the summer, and they're celebrating the God that has gone from darkness to light. An ascension of 46 degrees. And then remember the Lincoln Memorial. The temple, 46, with a God inside of it, now enthroned. Lincoln Memorial, 36 pillars on the outside, 10 hidden pillars on the inside. That makes 46. And this all has to do with the rise of who the Bible calls Tammuz. Rising from the Tropic of Capricorn to the Tropic of Cancer, an ascension of 46 degrees. And I want you to notice that he is going from south to the north. And that is precisely what God described in Ezekiel chapter 8, verse 14. Remember, God's showing Ezekiel the abominations. And he says, Ezekiel, he said, then he brought me to the door of the gate of the Lord's house, which was toward the north. And behold, there sat women weeping for Tammuz. They would do this at the winter solstice, December 21st, in anticipation that he was going to rise again through the 46 degrees up to the summer solstice. The beast rising. Think about all these people that are talking about the God that's going to, the spark of divinity that the Gnostics talk about, that is inside of us all, that is going to come out and rise up in a full flame. Kundalini and contemplative prayer. They all talk about this God that is deep inside of us, down in our DNA. One of these days he's going to rise up. This idea of God showing Ezekiel in the temple there in the center of Jerusalem what was going on. If you read Ezekiel 8, you'll see that every time God showed him something, they were going higher up the chain to the very top people in the high places in Jerusalem. He was showing him a multitude that was doing wrong. And he said, Ezekiel, I'm going to show you something greater than that. Then he would see the 70. And then he said, I'm going to show you something greater than that. Then he would see these women weeping for Tammuz and baking cakes to the Queen of Heaven. He would show him all these things. And then he said, in verse 15, then said he unto me, hast thou seen this, O son of man? Turn thee yet again, and thou shalt see greater abominations than these. And he brought me into the inner court of the Lord's house, and behold, at the door of the temple of the Lord, between the porch and the altar, were about 25 men, with their backs toward the temple of the Lord, and their faces toward the east, and they worshiped the sun toward the east. And folks, these were the men who were supposed to be the guardians or the